And good morning to all of you guys who are joining me, morning or afternoon or evening, depending on where in the world you are. I think that's one of the coolest things about being an online tutor is that you can be absolutely anywhere in the world helping students from anywhere in the world. I mean, the whole idea is just like mind blowing, isn't it? I mean, when I first got started, a lot of people were doing in person tutoring, and they were really confined to only people in their specific area that were looking for tutoring. And today, we get to be able to branch out amongst the entire world. All 7 billion people out there in the world who could possibly need our tutoring services. And I just think it just opens up the possibilities for so many of us. Now, we have been reading the book. It's called The Magic of Thinking Big. And lots of you guys have been joining me for all of the chapters. And if you haven't had a chance to check it out, you could definitely check it out and begin reading it. It's really an incredible read. Now, chapter 9 is all about thinking right towards people. And what are the different kinds of relationships that I need to have with people in order to be successful? And he says success depends on the support of other people, right? And so if success depends upon the amount of the right kind of people to support us, don't we want to be able to portray ourselves in a certain way in order for that to happen? I definitely think so. Now, he says that President Lyndon Johnson had a 10-point formula for success. So we've got here, he says, number 1, you want to learn to remember names. Inefficiency at this point may indicate that your interest is not sufficiently outgoing. So the very first thing that I do is I'm making sure that I'm pronouncing their names correctly, and then I repeat it a few times so that when I'm saying their name, they feel like I'm hearing them. Now, there are some times I try the best that I can to be able to say it, and I can tell that the other person is like, you're close. That's a good try. And I'm like, okay, what can we do so that I could do a better job at this? So I'll actually, at times, I've actually practiced the name over and over again. Our friend Atul, I used to want to call him Atul when I saw his name, and I asked him how do you pronounce it. He said Atul. So I would actually just say 10 times afterwards, Atul, 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 until all of a sudden I got it in my head that his name is Atul, okay? So then I also want to then take the person's face and I want to put their name to it so that I can remember it. So many people say, oh, but I'm just not good at remembering names. You know, it's something that we all have the ability to get better at. Our brains are programmed to see faces. And so now you need to just take their face and possibly make a connection with their name. And that might help you to be able to remember their name. Another strategy, like I said, is to just repeat their name over and over again. And then another strategy is within the first 5 minutes of meeting them, make sure to use their name at least 5 times. For each minute that you are talking to them, you use their name in each sentence. So, oh, yes, I hear what you're saying, Atul. Thank you so much for sharing that. That is going to help you then the next time that you see them, remember them and remember how to pronounce it correctly. I have a little girl. Her name is Kiara. And when I first started working with her, I wanted to call her Kiera, but it's Kiara. And so I kept saying, okay, it's Kiara, and it's spelled with an A-R. So I remember that A-R makes the R sound. So I always need to remember that it's Kiara, like car, R, Kiara, Kiara. And so then after I started working with her for the first 5 minutes, I said, you know what? Thank you so much for correcting me, Kiara. I really like when I can pronounce names correctly. So Kiara, let's take a look at, what do you think, Kiara? So here I am, I'm reusing that name so I can pronounce it correctly the way that they've told me how to pronounce it. The other thing that I'll do is I will actually ask them, if I feel like I'm not pronouncing their name right, I'll be like, all right, did I butcher your name? Because one of the weird things is when you first get on the computer with somebody via Zoom, people don't introduce themselves the same way that they normally would, right? They're not like, hi, my name is, and I'd be like, hi, well, my name is Joanne. Nice to meet you, right? People don't do that. They sit there and they wait for you to say something. And so then you might have to say something like, my name's Joanne. It's so great to meet you. And then hopefully they say their name, or you can say, so am I thinking the right pronunciation of your name in my head? In my head, I'm saying this. Is that correct? And they'll let you know yes or no and how to fix it. So it's really important to make sure that you're saying names correctly. Now, you guys, I want to personally welcome you into the different pages we've got here. We have Lynn Wilson here. Woo woo. She is a lifetimer in our community. That is for sure. We love you, Lynn. And we've got Cabo T. Cabo is he is here in our she just joined the Insider Secrets Club. Woot woot. And let's see, over in Facebook, let's see, who do we got over here, you guys? Please feel free to introduce yourselves inside of Facebook as well. So YouTube, you guys have started already introducing yourselves inside of here. Awesome job. Keep going at it. Number 2 for the 10-point formula for success. Be comfortable. Be a comfortable person so there's no strain in being with you. Be an old shoe kind of individual. You know, if you're always difficult and your point is more important than the person, it's going to be really hard to develop positive relationships. Sometimes you have to let your point go in order to continue developing those positive relationships, right? And so you may hear somebody else say something and you're like, oh my gosh, I totally disagree with that. And you just keep going off on it. You know, sometimes we just have to hear people out and just listen to what it is that they say. Number 3, acquire the quality of relaxed, easygoing so that things do not ruffle you. So if every time somebody says something, you just like automatically get upset, like first thing, you just get upset and you react, that isn't something that is going to serve you well when building positive relationships with people. It makes it difficult for people to want to be around you, and it makes people want to avoid you at all costs. And so we want to avoid that at all costs, right? We don't want people to feel like that towards us. Number 4, he says, don't be egotistical. Guard against the impression that you know it all. Now, here's the thing. Nobody knows it all, right? And so we don't need to come off as if we know everything. So if you don't know about something, then either A, don't talk about it, B, research it, but be open-minded to hear what other people have to say, or C, allow the other person just to share what it is that they know. And you don't have to agree or disagree with them. You just need to be open-minded and listen to them. Number 5, he says, is to cultivate the quality of being interesting so people will get something of value from their association with you. So it's almost like, what value do you offer to the conversations? Sometimes being a listener is the being of value because so many people don't feel like they're heard. So many people don't feel like others are listening to them. And so it's really important sometimes just to be that person who's actually engaging in a conversation with you and asking you questions, and instead of always having to share their opinions or their thoughts. Number 6, he says to study to get the scratchy elements out of your personality, even those of which you may be unconscious. So, in other words, we constantly need to be working on ourselves. When we're working on ourselves, we are helping all the other people that are around us, right? We have certain traits in our personality that when other people view them, they are not so attractive. And so we have to really take a close look at, okay, which parts of my personality are not attractive and why is that? So most people will approach it as, well, that's just who I am. If you don't like it, you could take it or leave it. They are never willing. They're not open-minded to see how they can work on that, right? So we've had this conversation many times where I'm extremely introverted. However, a lot of people would like totally disagree with that. Like, Joanne, you're so extroverted. No way, you're not introverted. And every time I explain to them, like, look, like introversion means that I get my energy from being alone, and extroverts means that they get their energy from being around people. So it's very easy for me to be dynamic and have a personality and be introverted because how I respond doesn't have to stop me. Now, there used to be a time in my life when I would get social anxiety, like being around big groups of people actually caused anxiety for me. And today I've learned how to be in larger groups so that the anxiety isn't too bad. And so, there are things that I could, if I just like stayed behind the screen and did all of that, I wouldn't be able to make these positive relationships. And I know that there's so many people out there that I was intended to work with. And so I have to get out there. I have to make myself visible. I have to do things that are uncomfortable sometimes so that more people can know who I am. Number 7 is, he says, sincerely attempt to heal on an honest basis every misunderstanding you have had or now have. Drain off your grievances. And so this is really like making amendments with people that you've hurt. So if you know that you have hurt somebody, it's taking responsibility for your side of the street and saying, look, I am so sorry that I did this. You're using the I here. I am so sorry that I did this. Is there anything I can do to make up for it? It is not a place to be like, and here's where you went wrong. Here, 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 and here. Okay? Here you are just attempting to heal the relationship and taking responsibility for what you did. Now, a lot of people are not going to be open-minded and take responsibility for what they've done. But you want to get rid of all grievances that could possibly be out there against you. Holding on to them doesn't help you. Number 8 is to practice liking people until you learn to do so genuinely. So everybody's going to have a different personality, right? I feel like we're called to just, accept people. We are called to accept people for who they are. I can't change them. I have absolutely no control over changing other people. But I can accept who they are. It doesn't mean that I have to, go out of my way to do things for them or with them. But I really genuinely want to practice liking those people that I wouldn't want to like. A lot of times the things that I don't like in other people, their qualities I need to take a look at. One are times when I do the things that these people are doing that I'm not liking right now. And when I can take an honest and open look at that, I have that opportunity to be a more likable person because I'm working on myself. I'm not trying to change you. If I'm seeing it in somebody else, there's the possibility that that trait could be in me and I never realized it before. And the only reason I'm seeing it is because it's in me. And so I need to take responsibility for that. Number 9, he says, never miss an opportunity to say a word of congratulation upon anyone's achievement or express sympathy in sorrow or disappointment, right? If somebody's done something really good, let them know, right? Celebrate with them. It's exciting. It's not something to be jealous of. It's exciting to see people have successes in the world. If other people are having successes in the world, that means you can have successes in the world. So we really genuinely want to be excited for people that are having successes. And when you celebrate with them, guess what's going to happen? They're going to celebrate with you when you have your successes. And they're going to be excited when you have those successes. Number 10 is to give spiritual strength to people, and they will genuinely have affection towards you. So, I want to actually pray for people. A lot of people say, oh, I'll pray for you. And like, nothing actually happens. Like, there's not a routine built in that person's life where they actually pray. But you want to fill them up spiritually. And you can do that through praying for people, especially those people that you don't like. The more that you pray for them over time, something amazing happens. And it's not a change in the other person. What happens is a change in your heart. And then over time, people begin to recognize that. And it begins to make a significant impact on how they see you and view you. And this is really, really an awesome thing. So let me take a look and see who else is in here. We've got Bobby Invests. Woo woo. Bobby is in the house. And Raja is in the house. So glad that you are here, you guys. Awesome. And I'm having a problem seeing my face, my Facebook group people. So let's come on over here. I'm going to do a reset. There we go. Awesome. We've got Anna Martin in here from our Facebook group. So I'm glad that you guys are here and joining us. We're learning about really how to be more likable. You know, a lot of us aren't concerned about whether people like us or not. And I get it. I mean, you are who you are. You're unique and you're special. But we all came into this world and we had some baggage that we kind of brought with us as we grew up into our adulthood, right? And maybe it's made us into a certain kind of person that we need to work on in order to be open-minded, to be likable, to be accepting, to be forgiving. This is what we're called to do. We're not called to, be unlikable, unforgivable, hold on to grievances. None of these are attractive kinds of things. He says, take the initiative in building friendships because leaders always do. Now, here's 6 ways to win friends by exercising a little initiative. Number 1 is to introduce yourself to others at every possible opportunity, whether it's at a party, a meeting, on an airplane, at work, everywhere you go. Just introduce who you are so people know you. Number 2, be sure the other person gets your name straight. So we want to be able to pronounce their name, but we want to make sure they can pronounce our name as well. Be sure you can pronounce the other person's name the way he pronounces it, which we talked about right at the beginning of this video. Number 4, it says write down the other person's name and be mighty sure you've spelled it correctly. People have a fetish about the correct spelling of their own names. So if possible, get his address and phone number also. I don't really feel the need of that, but I do like the idea of writing down their name. There's so many times when I have written somebody's name down, like maybe I'm doing a blog post or something else and I've written their name down and they've messaged me like, can you please change that? And it's like, of course I can change that. That was poor planning on my part. So what I've learned is anytime I write somebody's name down, I need to verify. I need to go to their social media presence or wherever to make sure I'm spelling their name correctly before I just throw it on out there. Number 5 is to drop a personal note or make a phone call to this new person that you want to be able to know better. So this is an important point. Most successful people follow through on new friends with a letter or a phone call. So you want to make sure that you are following through on this interaction with this other person. And last but not least, say pleasant things to strangers. It warms you up and it gets you ready for the task ahead. So we have here, if we take a look, there was, I love this. On page 207, he says, this is like one of the keys I want you guys to take because this is like really pivotal in getting new clients. He says, the person who does the most talking and the person who is the most successful are rarely the same person. I'm going to say that again. The person who does the most talking and the person who's most successful are rarely the same person. So you want to be someone who is listening. So this is why when I've taught people in the Jumpstart program how to have a conversation with an ideal client, I haven't listed out, here's everything you say. I've listed questions that you're going to ask. because I want to elicit the other person talking more than you talking. So he says here, almost without exception, the more successful the person, the more he practices conversation generosity. That is, he encourages the other person to talk about himself, his views, his accomplishments, his family, his job, his problems. And this is really, really key, because if we can figure out, like, what is the problem that each of our students is struggling with the most, you're now going to be able to communicate with them using that problem. So somebody says that, let's say it's their confidence in math. That's the biggest problem. Like, if they were just more confident, I feel like they could get the right answer. Then you're going to do that in your communication. So my goal is to help your child be more confident in math. We're going to do this by, and then you list out the plan. Here's how we're going to do that, right? That's going to make people feel like you've heard. All right, so a lot of times you'll find that the average person would rather talk about himself than anything else in this world. Conversation generosity is the easiest, simplest, and surest way there is to win a friend. Just make them feel like they're being heard. Listening will pay off. He says, don't be a conversation hog. Listen, win friends, and learn. So true. We can learn so much from other people when they talk. We really don't learn anything new when we're talking, do we? Well, we can learn when we let others talk and we let them say what it is that they need to say. So let's see what do you guys think about this? Beth says, celebrating other successes definitely comes from a collaboration over competition mindset. I agree. And let's come on over here to our wonderful Facebook. What do you guys think over here in YouTube about these ideas on how to kind of talk to people? And even if you think about it, like, these are really great tips for when we are engaging on social media too. Ask people questions. How did you get started as an online tutor? Potential clients, you could ask, so what is your child struggling with the most? Anytime you can think of these kinds of engaging questions where it allows them to talk, not just say yes or no. Yes and no doesn't really engage that other person. We want to really get a little bit more information from them so that we can really understand what's going on for them. Now, he says, in a capsule, put these principles to work. Make yourself lighter to lift. Be likable. Practice being the kind of person people like. This wins their support and puts fuel in your success building program. Number 2, take the initiative in building friendships. Introduce yourself to others at every opportunity. Make sure you get the other person's name straight and make certain he gets your name straight too. Drop a personal note to your new friends that you want to get to know better. Number 3, accept human differences and limitations. Don't expect anyone to be perfect. Remember, the other person has a right to be different. And don't be a reformer. Don't try to change them, right? The only person in the world that you can change is yourself. You cannot change other people. Number 4, tune in Channel P, the good thought station. Find qualities to like and admire in a person, not things to dislike. You know, it's so easy to think about, okay, they're not like me on this and we just don't like them because they're not like us, right? But what are things that you can admire in other people? What are some traits and qualities that you can admire in other people, even if maybe they're not on your top list of people that you like? Everybody's got some positive qualities, something that you can really pick up on. Practice conversation generosity. Be like successful people. Encourage others to talk. Let the other person talk to you about his views, his opinions, and his accomplishments. And always, you guys, number 6, practice courtesy all the time. It makes the other person feel better, and it's going to make you feel better too. So when you're emailing people, when you are engaging with them on social media, Constantly be courteous, be nice. Anything you wouldn't say to their face, do not write them, okay? It's really important that you try to speak to them face to face and say it, because most likely the way that you would say it and the way that you would write it are completely different. And that's going to affect how you're making the other person feel without you even realizing it. Okay, so just because you're writing it doesn't mean that you get to be less nice. Number 7, don't blame others when you receive a setback. Blaming is never, ever, ever going to help you with building your business. So, instead of trying to blame, take personal responsibility. What is it that I could have done better? What's the lesson that I could learn from this situation? What do I need to do differently in the future so that everybody feels like they won at the end? Because remember, how you think when you lose determines how long it will be until you win. And I want all of you guys in here to win. So thank you, you guys. I really, really love this. You guys are awesome. I want to thank Lynn Wilson for joining us today, and Bobby Invests. Thank you for being here. And inside of our Facebook group, we've got Haven Carrillo, Beth Hansford, Anna. Thanks you guys today for joining us. Join us next week as we continue the conversation. And next time we're going to be talking about the action habit, chapter 10. So definitely stay tuned and keep listening.